Mr. and Mrs. Arthur James Farley request the honor of your presence at the marriage of their daughter Patricia Marie to Thomas Glynn Muldoon, Lieutenant Junior Grade, United States Naval Reserve, on Saturday the 26th of October, 1968, at 12 noon. Church of St. Thomas the Apostle, Woodhaven, New York. Black tie optional. Pants required.
In the waning days of the summer of 1967, two people met on the island of Puerto Rico. One was a young schoolteacher who still lived in the family home in Queens. The other, an officer raised on the north side of Chicago who took an unlikely path to the Navy. What began as a chance encounter would become one of the great marriages in American history. What drew Tom Muldoon and Patricia Farley to each other was not their shared background of working-class immigrant families. Families that had struggled to build better lives for their children in the great cities of America. Instead, their future rested in the outcome of a coin flip. In one way, their meeting was ordinary. In another way, it was miraculous. At the time, most men won their wives in games of rock, paper, scissors. The story of Tom Muldoon's family began in Cleveland, Ohio, in the year 1900. It was the dawn of the 20th century, or the end of the 19th century, depending on how you count, when his father Bert was born to Irish immigrants who had come to America with nothing but a few pennies and the family mustache. By the time he was a teenager living in Chicago, Bert was helping his parents' adopted country win a world war. According to legend, he single-handedly silenced a hostile machine gun nest, capturing 15 prisoners. But the truth was, he actually used both hands. As the war raged, immigrants poured out of Europe. Among them was Magdalena Tomaselli, who left Palermo, Sicily aboard the steamship Stampalia in the arms of her mother, Giuseppa. Magda was only 10 months old, but she was already wanted by Sicilian authorities for racketeering and extortion. The American government welcomed her at Ellis Island, a decision it would soon come to regret. The family settled in Chicago, where Magda received a typical American education, including spelling and driver's ed. As a young woman, she took a job working for the railroad, all the livelong day. It was there she befriended Anne Muldoon, who soon introduced Magda to Bert. They were married on November 20th, 1941. Magda chose to wear her bridal fur because the weather in Chicago was a little chin-chilly. Their first child, Tommy, was named for the popular fashion accessory of Magda's youth, the Tommy gun. A few years later, their second son, Terry, was named for the less popular Terry gun. The family struggled through the war years. Because metal was rationed, Bert made wooden toys for his children, like the horse Coco, who wished hard enough that he actually became a real horse. Tom played fetch with an imaginary dog named Licky, since real dogs were also being rationed. Tom was an outstanding Cub Scout, the first 9-year-old to earn a merit badge in labor relations. Ever the responsible child, Tom took on a series of odd jobs to help with the family finances. Longshoreman, gravedigger, fashion model. But he soon came to realize that the real money was in the priesthood.
I entered the seminary at the University of Notre Dame. Hey, go Irish! You know, this was so long ago that when you went to the bookstore to pick up a Bible, it was under new releases. Then they asked me to leave the seminary because I didn't have the right stuff. I showed up one day in a yarmulke and a prayer shawl. That's the wrong stuff. That's rabbi stuff. Mazel tov.
Tom found himself at a crossroads. He joined the Navy and eventually washed up on the shores of Puerto Rico, wondering where his life would take him. The answer was on its way. Patricia Marie Farley's father, Art, was a Brooklyn native, only 2 generations removed from the green fields of Ireland. As a youth, he worked at the family jewelry store. Selling jewelry during the Depression was futile, so if someone wanted an engagement ring, Art would sell him a lump of coal, and the pressure of daily life would eventually turn it into a diamond. On May 23, 1916, only a few blocks from where Art had grown up, Rita Moss was born. But she wasn't alone. She was born a triplet, but only she and her sister Catherine survived. Rita was, by all accounts, a happy child, full of life. That's Catherine. Rita was, by all accounts, a happy child. She loved sharing a good time with her sister. They organized parties, frequented local bars, and formed the Alpha and Omega Society, a social club with a sinister ulterior motive: to bring about a new world order. They never got around to it, though, because it was more fun just to go out for Chinese food. The twins also found fun on the beaches of Coney Island. Among the many young women at the steeplechase pool, Rita stood out. It might have been her racy attire. She was known to show a lot of toe. This caught the eye of Art Farley, whose beachwear was more typical of the times. The two quickly fell in love and were married on June 13, 1942. The first of their 5 children, Patricia, arrived soon after. She was one of the most beautiful babies in all of Queens, but at the time, the really hot babies were being born in Staten Island.
There was this picture of me hanging in the photographer's studio for 9.5 years. Can you believe it? And you know who replaced me? Pia Zadora. Well, I never cared for her. Not a lot of talent. Now, she went to Our Lady Queen of Martyrs because she was over in Forest Hills. You know who she lived right near? Jeannie Olsen. And she's having such problems with her gallbladder. They got her on all this medication. It's making her all... What was I talking about?
Each morning, Pat watched her father leave the family home in Woodhaven for work at the Brooklyn Navy Yards. His colleagues were building aircraft carriers, like the USS Hornet. Art's responsibilities were slightly smaller, but no less important. Her years at St. Thomas the Apostle Elementary School were marred by a brief, unhappy marriage. As she grew older, her good looks made her a highly sought-after prom date, and her excellent attendance record meant that she'd probably show up. At St. Francis Prep's prom, she was elected queen. At Christ the King's prom, she was again elected queen. And of course, Christ was king. At the Holy Cross High prom, due to a clerical error, she was elected lieutenant governor. By the time Pat entered St. Joseph's College for Women, she was a standout on the debate club. Her strategy was as simple as it was effective. Just keep talking. Patricia went on to earn a master's degree in American history at St. John's University. After graduating, she and her friend Joan Marr decided to celebrate with a vacation. Their destination? San Juan, Puerto Rico. She went looking for sunshine, adventure, and legalized cockfighting. But what she would find would change the course of her life.